Hello and welcome to another video. Now in front of me I've got Yamaha's brand new MT-09 SP. I've had this bike for about a week and a half, so in this video we'll take it for a ride and I can tell you what I think about it. So yeah, let's briefly go over some of the tech specs. I won't cover it in depth because you can watch my standard MT-09 video, or you can just go on Yamaha's website and check that out. But there are some key changes and I will go through those. So we've got this beautiful R1M inspired paint job, this lovely lush silver black with blue pin striping on the tank and the rear seat cowl. And for the first time ever we've got Brembo stylemas up front with a Brembo master cylinder as well. So yeah, and fully adjustable KYV suspension with DLC, that's diamond-like carbon coating. It means less wear and it just looks pretty fancy. And also changes, we've got a rear Öhlins shock which has got remote preload adjustment and another adjuster on the other side, which might be for rebound or compression, I can't remember, as well as preload. So fully adjustable. We've got a lacquered metal swing arm, which looks really fancy. We've also got some updated electronics from the R1M, so we've got track modes, but that's pretty much most of the changes. Still got the same 890cc CP3 engine, 117 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and 93 Nm of torque at 7,000 RPM. We'll talk about the rest as we get going. It's got a 32.5 inch seat height, or 825 millimeters. I am 5'8" with a 30-inch inseam, and I can totally flat foot the bike. If that's important to you, it doesn't really mean too much, but there's our dash and there's the smart key system, so it does look a little bit like a kitchen appliance, this little switch here, but we'll switch that on and the dash will come alive, hopefully. There we are. So yeah, full colour TFT dash. It's got lots of settings, but we'll go through that on the little walk around we do later. Does sound pretty good. You've got these acoustic grills here to give the rider a bit more of a fruity experience with the engine note. Now, one thing I noticed about the CP3 engine is the clutch is quite grabby when the bike is cold. My Tracer 9 does the same thing. Just a little bit grabby, but once it warms up it's not too bad. And straight away you can feel that saucy mid-range of this CP3 engine. Very, very lovely. Ridiculously smooth as well. So yeah, I rode the new MT-09, not the SP, at the launch in Lanzarote. I think it was early this year. And yeah, I was pretty impressed by the bike, even though the weather in Lanzarote was actually wet and the roads were not great. It was a bit of a weird location for a launch, if I'm being honest, because I found the roads that we were on very full of traffic, like dual carriageways, and it just was a bit of an odd choice, but there we go. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. SP is kind of a step on from the standard one. It's a little bit more money. You're talking about £1,700 more expensive. So the stock MT-09 is £10,100 and the MT-09 SP is £11,806 to be precise. We've got to be a little bit careful because the roads are ever so slightly damp. So yeah, I quite like the colour combo on the standard MT-09, the midnight cyan. Really enjoy that. But this SP has only got the one colour option. It's a bit of a shame because I would like to see the cyan colour sort of integrated into this SP model. But I guess, you know, that's the whole point of the SP model, is you get a fancy paint job. What does SP mean? Does anyone know? Is it sports performance or sensual paint job, or sexy peregrine? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know what SP means, or we can all just guess. Öhlins rear shock, I mean, that's quite a big thing, and Brembo stylema front calipers. They are radial mounted. They've obviously got much bigger pistons than the stock calipers, so you get better braking performance because there's more braking forces involved. Galfa discs, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they're not. They might be Brembo discs actually. God blimey. That engine is pretty. Whoa, that mid-range. So what are we at? So about 5,000-6,000 RPM. Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, that is very very aggressive. Sounded like Mario. So quick shifter, this is their 3rd generation quick shifter, which basically means you can do up and down whenever you want. You can do down when you're off the throttle, you can do up when you're on the throttle, or vice versa. You know, it doesn't matter kind of when you want to change gear, it will just do it, and it's remarkably smooth. It's probably, I would say, the Yamaha quick shifter on this bike is probably the best quick shifter out there now. Whereas Triumph originally, I would say, had the crown. Yamaha have kind of worked their magic with their electronics, and yeah, I think this is the best quick shifter out there as it stands today. But let's talk about seating and ergo, because part of the redesign for the MT-09 for 2024 is that it pitches you over the front a little bit more. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't ride the previous generation MT-09, but I did hear it was quite bolt upright. I have sat on one, but I never rode one because I just didn't dig it. I didn't like the look, I didn't like the front light, I didn't like the weird seat that just finished. There was no back end to it. I'm glad that there's a little bit of a cowling at the back on this bike. But yeah, ergos, yeah, you are quite upright. It is, I think it's very sort of super motard-y, I will say. I kind of have to take Yamaha at their word that you're pitched over the front a little bit more, because to me it does feel very bolt upright, especially when comparing to things like the Triumph Street Triple RS. That is a lot more leant over. But knees aren't super bent up, so I appreciate that, because it might mean that my legs or my knees are a little bit happier over a longer distance. Just going on to those Brembo stylemas. Now, I've currently got the Triumph Street Triple RS on loan, and that also has stylemas, and it also has a Brembo master cylinder, radial master cylinder, same as this, but the braking feels very, very different. I will have to check to see whether or not they have different disc sizes, because the Triumph just feels like it has a lot more initial bite, whereas this feels quite soft initially. But there's a lovely feel through the lever on this bike, I will say that. It doesn't feel as grabby, as bitey. Oh yeah, that engine feels pretty bitey though. That is a lovely thing. Let's really lean on those brakes a bit. Yeah, it just feels like it's not quite there with the power. I mean, it's been a while since I've ridden the standard MT-09, so I'm kind of having to go off memory a little bit. Ooh, blimey, they're lofting that front wheel a bit. Woo! Oh yeah. So suspension. Now these are really bumpy roads, but the suspension is actually, I thought it'd be quite racy and crashy, but it's really, really plush. So actually really decent for the road. Here we go. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with that. Now obviously it's fully adjustable, so you can dial things in, but quite how much you can change it, I don't know. I haven't played with it. I know people criticise me for not adjusting suspension, but I always kind of think, you know, I'd like to test stock bikes as they get delivered to me, but I probably should tweak things a little bit the longer I have a bike. But you know, sometimes it just adds a lot of complexity to my videos. Here I'm just making excuses. I could be a racer, couldn't I? Anyway, yeah, something I may try and address in the future, but for now, yeah, stock settings, very plush, but quite agile. Seems to want to change direction really quickly. In terms of how the bike feels to ride when you push on, it kind of feels like it's a little bit flighty at the front, and there's not, even though Yamaha have put the rider a little bit more over the front wheel. Oh yes, that is aggressive. I would say it still feels a little bit flighty over the front, not quite fully. I wouldn't say I'm unconfident. So it does feel like the balance of the bike, where you know you got the front wheel and the back wheel, the balance seems to be a little bit more towards the rear, which I guess makes the bike fun to ride. So I can't really bemoan that too much. But, yeah, it feels a little bit less poised and sort of balanced than the Street Triple. I am going to be doing a full comparison video with up against the Street Triple RS. If you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe. That will be coming soon. but I can't deny this bike is really fun to ride. It's got a lot of character from that engine. I mean, it's the same engine that's in my Tracer 9, but it feels like a really different animal, if I'm honest. Where the Tracer 9 feels like when you wind it on, it's quite linear and it just goes forwards. There's no real front lift unless you're really aggressive. Whereas this thing just seems to want to loft that front wheel at the slightest touch of the throttle. So shorter wheelbase, I imagine, and also perhaps geared slightly differently. But yeah, it makes for a very aggressive and fun experience. Now, electronics wise, we've got all manner of toys. Yamaha really have thrown the absolute works at this bike. You've got traction control, you've got wheelie control, which are separate. You can deactivate wheelie control but still have traction, which is nice. You've got rear slide control, you've got brake control, you've got it's all lean sensitive as well. Cruise control is standard, that's a really nice thing. You've got the Garmin Cross Street app, so that's full on-screen navigation with no additional cost to you. You do have to download the Garmin app, and it is a little bit fiddly to use, I'll be honest. But once you get your head around it, and I imagine, I've used it a couple of times, and because I don't use it all the time, every time I come to reuse it again, I'm kind of like, oh, I can't quite remember how to do this. It is a little bit finicky, but I imagine if you own one of these bikes, you would just get used to it, and I'm sure it's fine. And it's built into the bike, so why wouldn't you use it? Keep your phone in your pocket. Obviously, you will be draining the battery, so you will want to be attaching a charging cable to your bike. I don't know if this one comes on standard. I'll have to have a little dig around on the dash there, but it might do. Or perhaps under the seat. It might be under the seat, in fact. Whoa, yeah, that power delivery is really addictive. Absolutely wonderful. What's the rear brake like? Yeah, the rear brake is quite nice, actually. Feels like it's got a lot of power. Still not convinced by these indicator switches. You've got like these little rocker switches. There's no actual cancel button in the middle anymore. It's all double press. So you press it once to indicate, press it again to cancel, which sounds alright, but I quite like knowing that I've definitely cancelled my indicators by double clicking and getting kind of like a tactile feedback, whereas here you have to risk. So if you indicate and you're not sure if you cancelled it, and maybe you had cancelled it and you press it again, you'll be indicating. Yeah, not convinced that that's a better way than just standard indicator setup, but it is what it is. Perhaps you just kind of live with it. I'm constantly looking to see if I'm indicating on the dash there, whereas if you've got a little button that is just for cancelling the indicators, I feel that's better, because you don't need to look down to check. You can just sort of like hammer the cancel button away. Hammer away, lads, hammer away. But anyway, just a minor gripe, really. Let's talk about the suspension, because it is different. We've got more new fancy KYB suspension up front, 43 mils, and Öhlins rear shock. Now, it's been quite a while since I've ridden the standard MT-09, so I'd have to ride them back to back to really tell you there's a difference. I'm not going to sit here and say to you, oh yeah, I could feel an absolute amazing difference, because I only rode the standard MT-09 in Lanzarote, and the road surfaces out there are much better than here. But I am borrowing the standard MT-09 after this, so at least I could have a better frame of reference after the fact. Oh, blimey. So it's got wheelie control turned on, but it still lets you hoik the front wheel if you so wish. If you're so inclined. Obviously, we're in Mexico at the moment, so it's not illegal. But yeah, very, very fun bike to throw around. It does feel really agile. What's the weight of this? It's 194 kilograms or 427 pounds. So not the lightest machine, but it is under 200 kilos, so that is, I still think that's a pretty good sweet spot. Plus the power, I've always said 120 horsepower kind of limit on the road is probably the most useful, in that you could at least use it and not be doing silly speeds. I know people like Tim with his MT-10 would be scoffing at this video right now. Tim, you crazy fool. It is, do you know what, it's just a really fun motorcycle to ride. I recently rode the Duke, the 990 Duke, and I was, I'll be honest, I was in awe of that bike, just how it delivers the power. And this isn't quite as raw as that, but by jingo is this a lot smoother, and I reckon to live with, this is probably a better bike. Just being honest, because I felt like the KTM was a little bit too raw, a little bit rough around the edges as well. Like the quick shifter was not nice. In fact, probably one of the worst quick shifters of recent times. I don't know if there was something wrong with it, but I think we can get past there. Yeah, so yeah, MT-09 SP, yeah, it's right up there, I think. How does it compare to the Duke 990 and the Street Triple? Well, I will be doing a comparison video, as I've already said, with the Street Triple RS. So I will withhold further comment until I've done that video. But this bike holds its own very, very well. 14 litre fuel tank. In terms of mileage, you're looking at around about, what have I done? So I've done 120 miles so far on this tank of fuel. And I've got it says range 39 miles, so I reckon 150, 160 miles is quite realistic. I've not been spanking it everywhere. I did commute to work on this. I have ridden this in the pouring rain. I've done quite a lot on it, and actually after this video is recorded, I'm going to go out and do an all-day ride on it just to see how that seat copes. And actually I can talk about the seat comfort. It's not amazing, it's okay, but I think after a long journey it might get a little bit painful. But I'm going to find out later for sure. Right now it's not terrible, and you can get a comfort seat, although Yamaha comfort seats do seem to be a little bit harder than you would want. 2024 MT-09 SP, what an aggressive looking beastie. Love it. I love the Iron Man front face, really nice. Tyres, we've got S23Rs. Now these are OEM tyres, so they're probably not as good as the ones you will buy off the shelf. Maybe a single compound, I don't know, but to me they feel pretty good, and I've ridden in the wet and the dry, and they are, yeah, really nice. Hyper Sport. So there's your 43mm KYB forks, fully adjustable, Brembo style lemurs, 298mm discs. There's your die-cast frame, sort of a Delta Box style. This is the same frame that's on the Tracer 9, the XSR 900 and the XSR 900 GP. There's the beating heart of the bike, 890cc CP3 engine, 117 horsepower, 93 newton meters of torque. 14 litre fuel tank. Got some really nice angles on this. I don't know if you can see that, how sharp that is, but Yamaha developed some new techniques to be able to make these kind of shapes, and I think it really suits the bike aesthetic quite a lot. There's your Öhlins twiddlers, and there's the rear shock in there, the monoshock. And if I just show you the other side, we've got another twiddler here. There's your quick shifter, absolutely amazing quick shifter. Foot pegs, oh, there's your pillion. Let's see what that looks like for a pillion. Doesn't look awful, but it is quite sporty. I think that's quite a short distance, so the seat is quite flat. I probably wouldn't take a pillion on this, because I think you'd just end up wheeling everywhere. Scaring the bejesus out of the pillion. There's the rear light. Thank you, Yamaha, for not doing the integrated light and indicators. So we've got separate indicators and rear light. Thank you, Yamaha. Yeah, we've got a nice sort of metal brushed aluminium swing arm. I don't know if it's aluminium, but it's lacquered as well, so it looks really nice. And it sounds pretty good, but by jingo, that exhaust is absolutely horrid to look at. Just look at that box, and it's just that you can see the weld line. Oh, it just looks horrid, doesn't it? I'm sorry, Yamaha, but I think you could have done much better than that. Like the Street Triple probably has a similar thing, but it's also got this lovely sort of stubby exhaust that comes out, and it just looks really plush. This is horrid. Yeah, don't like that. That's the first thing I'd have to do, is get rid of that. And yeah, so right, let's take a little look at the menu actually. So there's the menu. So you've got all different things on the front here. You've got range, trip one, and also fuel indicator, but you can change those. Just cycle through each one. You know, trip time, air temp, coolant temp, range, average fuel, instant fuel, and fuel trip, and that's it. But let's go into the menu. So settings there, vehicle function. So you've got YRC settings. So these are the different modes. So I didn't talk about riding modes actually. So yeah, you've got 3 main riding modes: sport, street and rain, plus 2 custom modes. and you can select different power, traction control, stability control, lift, engine braking, the quick shift up and down, and brake control settings. So those are what you can change. These Sport, Street and Rain have preset levels, so you can't change those. That's for custom modes only. But you can also go, and you've got 4 track modes, and in track you can have different power, traction, stability control. Sorry, it's not stability, it's slide control system. So that's a rear wheel slip, lift control system. I like the little graphic actually. You've got engine brake management, quick shift up and down, plus your brake control. But yeah, so you can turn rear ABS off in track mode. You've got an app, of course. You've got the Yamaha My Rider app, and you can actually adjust all the settings and export it to your bike. So you can change it all in your app on your phone, and then just send it to the bike, which is pretty nifty, I think. Now this is essentially where you've got your settings. So this is like a global setting. So even if you're on sport mode, you can turn off all the things, or you can just turn off slide control, or you can just turn off wheelie control. So yeah, it's kind of, there's a lot to mess around with. A brief overview of the little menu there. Hopefully that's enough. But yeah, like I said, we've got cruise control as well. Let's have a little fiddle with the cruise control. So it looks like you have to be in 3rd gear to activate the cruise control, and you can only go down to 29 miles an hour. So if I go down to 2nd, yeah, that's deactivated it. Right, so that's interesting. So yeah, no 20 mile an hour limit cruise control. Yamaha might need to update that with the flipping 20 limits we've got. It's rather annoying. They're not annoying that Yamaha hasn't done it, it's annoying that the government seem incessant on rolling them out to everywhere. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, so let's talk about some pros and some cons then. What are the negatives and positives of this bike? So let's talk with negatives. What's the immediate thing that I can think of? That's a tough one, because I really do like this bike. Let's just say the clutch is a little bit grabby when it's cold. I don't know whether that's just this bike, but it does seem to be a very common thing in amongst the Yamaha machines, because my Tracer does it, and my MT-07 used to do it, and I know many other people that have had a similar thing. It just seems to be a Yamaha character, shall we say. Oh, wowie. So, one thing I did find while I was riding it, let's say in a very spirited fashion, is that the front, I got quite a pronounced speed wobble while I was riding it quite, let's say, aggressively and very quickly on a less than perfect straight road. I did get a little bit of it, well, quite a lot of a speed wobble. So I need to kind of fiddle with that a bit and see if that's something I can dial out. Let's just say I was on a track. Let's just say that I was on a track, on a straight. It was a little bit bumpy, and yeah, I got a bit of a speed wobble. So that is something where the adjustment to the suspension might be able to solve that. A couple of times when a wheelie came down, also the front did a little bit of a whooey. So I don't think this bike has a steering damper, and perhaps that it would benefit from a steering damper, I think. So I will tie that all into a negative, being it's a little bit flighty, especially at that front end. But that, it's a difficult one, because that probably is also why the bike is so fun. But we'll chalk that up as a bit of a negative. Braking performance, not as amazing as I thought it would be. Don't get me wrong, it's got a lovely feel and feedback, but it's just not as aggressive as some other bikes that I've ridden with these Stylemas, so that's a bit surprising. Now I guess it's not a massive complaint, because actually when you lean on them, they do work quite well, just not, they don't have that initial bite. I don't know if that's deliberate or not, I don't know. Maybe that could be changed with some different pads, but I imagine it's got Brembo pads in already, so I don't know. But yeah, it's just something I've noticed, that the brakes aren't particularly bitey. I won't say soft, because they are Stylemas and they do work nicely, but they're certainly softer than some other Stylema shod motorcycles. Yeah, let's say the seat. So I've been on the bike for, I don't know, 40 minutes, and I am starting to feel a little bit of discomfort already. It's not massive, but I kind of know that it's going to be a little bit of an issue on a longer journey. So seat not hugely comfortable, but you know, this isn't a touring bike. There's always caveats to these things, aren't there? But that leads me into the positives, and there is so much to be pleased about with this motorcycle. that engine is, oh, I love this CP3 engine, I really do. In every bike it's in that I've ridden, it's fantastic, and it's actually why I bought the Tracer 9 GT, because of that CP3 engine. It's so engaging, the mid-range is just so punchy, and yet ridiculously smooth. I dare use a journalistic trope, but it's so creamy. It sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it? But anyway, yeah, lovely, lovely power delivery. Just makes you grin a lot. The handling, while I have already talked about the aforementioned flightiness, hello love, don't know what she's getting ready for, but anyway, it is fun. It's really fun to throw around some twisties, and actually it's not too bad doing smoother roads. It does actually come into its own on a bit of smooth tarmac. Yeah, it is it's just really fun to ride. It just makes you giggle. And you don't have to ride it like an absolute nutter. You can just, you know, let's just, you know, short shift, we're in 5th gear. Yeah, it's just really fun to ride, essentially. And of course you've got the kind of knowledge that it's going to be pretty reliable. You know, Yamaha do have a pretty good reputation. You're not going to have to worry too much. You know, it's also good for second-hand prices. You know, if you have the bike for a couple of years, the bottom's not going to fall out at the end of your ownership. It's not going to massively depreciate, which is also good for you and your wallet. Flipping tons of electronics. It's got everything you really need and more. Like cruise control, I wouldn't have expected to have that on this bike, but it's got it anyway. It's there, and it's I'm glad it has it. The only thing it doesn't have as standard is heated grips, but you know, if you really want that sort of thing, you can go and put them on yourself. Oh, one other negative that I should have mentioned, the exhaust just looks absolutely horrible. So I would have to change that, just because I can't bear I can't bear looking at that ugly flicking box underneath the bike. It just looks horrible. And I imagine after a while of owning the bike, it would just go that horrible brown colour, just absolutely dire. But anyway, these are all, I'll be honest, these are all really nitpicky points, but I do really think hard about, you know, where a bike could be better, because there's no perfect motorcycle, and as good as this bike is, and it is really, really good, it's not perfect. That said, I think this is probably the best naked that there is on the market today. You know, it's got a heap load of tech on it, it looks fantastic, it goes like absolute stink, it will make you giggle like you're 12 years old on a BMX bike again, playing around, doing silly wheelies. It will just make you feel like a bit of a hero. And for God's sake, isn't that what riding a motorcycle is about? It should be all about fun, and this thing delivers it in absolute bucket loads. Fantastic. Yamaha, what a great job you've done. And not only that, it's £11,800. For what you get, Brembo stylemas, Öhlins shock, proper good suspension up front, all the tech you could ever want, a really engaging engine for less than 12 grand. Flipping amazing. So let's just wrap up a little bit. So negatives are a little bit of a bitey clutch, the exhaust looks horrible, brakes aren't quite as bitey as I was expecting, but positives are flipping amazing engine, lovely aggressive looks, so much tech on this bike, it will make your head explode, and yeah, it's just really, really fun to ride. And some of the tech items, like, you know, the quick shifter, the cruise control, quick shifter is sublime, absolutely sublime. Anyway, I think that will probably just about do for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, if you do go out today, do ride safe, but remember to have fun, of course, otherwise what is the point? Right, I'm out of here, see ya.